ASU now officially needing a whole lot of help in the Big 12. Whole lot of help in the Big 12. We'll talk about that in a little bit. Our colleague Doug Howler over at The Athletic writing about this loss to Houston on Saturday, talking about how vulnerable ASU has become. Quote, truth is, Arizona State has wobbled for much of this season. Despite returning 4 starters on the offensive line, the Sun Devils have struggled with protection. Despite having an elite quarterback in Sam Leavitt, they are terrible in the red zone. Making matters worse, another hurdle or injury seems to surface every single week. Had the Sun Devils had Jordyn Tyson, they might have survived their mistakes. Without him, they had little chance.
Yeah, they're not the same. There's something that's not clicked this year with ASU. It just hasn't clicked, and they're very close. They're very good at winning close football games. That's one of the things that Kenny takes a lot of pride in, winning close games. But as many close games as they won last year, you kind of think that you just wonder if the tide's going to turn at some point, and you lose a close game. Now the Houston game wasn't close at all until the final score showed it was close, but it really wasn't a close game at all because they were getting waxed by Houston, 24-0. I mean, you can point to, I don't have Cam Scatterbo. By the way, what a tough loss for Cam Scatterbo. Oh my God.
Our thoughts are with them.
Just terrible.
They classified that as emergency surgery, by the way. I didn't realize that until I read a report about it today. Like that was considered an emergency situation when he went into surgery to fix his dislocated.
I can't look at it.
I watched it once. I was like, oh
yeah.
God.
Somebody sent me a photo of it. I'm like, yeah, please don't. I can't look at that.
Not good. We wish him the very best.
So
obviously.
You thought with Kanye Udo and Raleek Brown and the Brown and Brown guys that you'd have a good running attack. I wasn't so worried about that. Tyson was coming back. Remember, he missed the Iowa State game. He missed the Peach Bowl against Texas. You're like, okay, you got the best receiver. Sam's back. He's going to be better. Offensive line is back. Defense is loaded. What happened? What happened is that this conference is just good. Not only these games are hard. Like Mississippi State's not a bad football team. Then Mississippi State's not bad. They almost had a big upset. Was it this weekend, Mississippi State?
I did not see.
I gotta look it up.
Against Texas, right?
Against Texas.
Yeah, that was this past week.
Didn't they just give up two touchdowns at the end of the game? Like Mississippi State's not bad. Like they're not a bad football team. They had won 4 in a row. Then they lost to Tennessee by 7. They got waxed by A&M, but they lost to Florida by 2, and they were beating Texas, and they lost by a touchdown at the end. They gave up 2 touchdowns. So Mississippi State's not bad. That was one of those close games that Arizona State lost. They lost by 4. This game ended up being close. They lost this game. Just certain things are just not going their way. So what I think it is, in more than anything, I think it really is special teams. I think special teams has been a disaster for them. I think if they didn't have the problems on special teams, they wouldn't be in the situation they're in right now. I don't blame not having Scatterbo. I don't blame the offensive line. I don't blame the defense. I really blame it on special teams. You can't have these possessions starting inside your 10 all the time because you're constantly having penalties on a punt return or a kickoff return. You can't have that. You can't miss the amount of field goals. You can't have the 2 punts. Look, they almost lost the damn game to Texas Tech because their punter gave them incredible field position because they couldn't punt the ball.
Right.
I kind of think that one thing is wearing them down.
I respect your opinion, of course, and I'm certainly not going to sit here and say special teams doesn't have something to do with it. I just, in a moment like this, Gambo, honestly, I really do go the simplest explanation tends to be the truest. And I think the simplest explanation is that in not having Cam Scatterbo, they just don't have that one guy who can do that amazing thing when amazing things need to be done. And we had hoped that Sam Leavitt could be the guy who could do amazing things when amazing things need to be done. And against Texas Tech, he was. He was that guy. Jordyn Tyson was that guy in that moment. But it hasn't happened enough. And more often than not this season, like it kind of, in a way, in retrospect, it's easy to say this now. But you see them fall behind against Mississippi State and have to rally and lose. You see them fall behind against TCU and have to rally. You see them constantly playing catch-up all the time, right? Like we're just behind and we got to work so hard to get ourselves out of this hole. Sam has just not been consistently elite enough to make up for the fact that you lost an elite player in Cam Scatterbo from a year ago who just was able to fill the margins with a kind of greatness that they just haven't been able to achieve so far this year. That to me is the simplest explanation for why. You can look at the stats and say, from a running perspective, they've been able to fill the void mostly statistically, but there was something beyond stats with Cam Scadaboo. He ripped into your chest and stole your soul and showed it to you. Like, you cannot stop me. You will not stop me.
Yes.
ASU doesn't have that guy. Not consistent. Jordyn Tyson every now and then, Sam Leavitt every now and then. They lost that guy in Cam Scadaboo, and they just haven't been able to replace it. That, to me, is the simplest explanation for why this year is different. I don't know if anybody buys it or not, but that's I think that's the easiest way to put it.
They were down 17-0 to Mississippi State.
Yeah.
And had to fight back to get back into the game.
And not because of Sam Leavitt necessarily, because of a run game that got them back in the fold. I'm not saying Sam's not great. He clearly reestablished himself a week ago as a very good quarterback for what he did against Texas Tech in the moment that needed him to be great. I think if they have a Cam Scadaboo type, I think they beat Houston on a Saturday evening at Mountain America Stadium. Maybe I'm wrong.
No, you might be right.
Or if they have a healthy Jordyn Tyson, I think they beat Houston.
But then I could make the
Saturday.
argument, too, that if Gomez just hits the 2 field goals and they stop taking all the penalties that have them play inside their 10-yard line.
Absolutely make
and
that
you don't
argument.
you don't feel the punt at the 5-yard line. You let it go in the end zone. Like, I can make the argument that you can win the game if your special teams is just fixed.
To Tug's point, and this is ultimately, I think, the point of what he's writing, this whole season has just kind of felt like on the edge, hasn't it? Whether it's Baylor, whether it's TCU, whether it's Mississippi State, whether it's even Texas Tech. I mean, it feels like just a play here or a play there, everything. And maybe last year was the same way. And again, that's where something as significant as special teams shows up. That's where something as significant as Cam Scadaboo shows up. You know, maybe what I don't buy, what I really don't, is the idea that everybody was gunning for them and the pressure of that, they just kind of crumbled under that. I have a hard time believing that. I don't think that's what's happened this year to ASU. You know, like
the only game that they really I mean, the Utah game was the only game that you just got clobbered.
Yeah.
You didn't have your quarterback. I think in some ways they sacrificed that game. But to beat Texas Tech, the way they beat Texas Tech, that's a good football team. It's there. It's in them. There's a good football team, but something's holding them back. And maybe it's not having Cam Scadaboo, or maybe it is special teams. But look, you take out the Northern Arizona and the Texas State games, because those games you're supposed to win big. Mississippi State 1-score game. Baylor 1-score game. TCU 1-score game. Texas Tech 1-score game. Houston 1-score game. You can't always expect the 1-score games to go your way.
Yeah.
Sometimes they just don't.
Kenny, after this was actually from today when he met with the media on how the team is feeling after this loss.
Yeah, I mean, you don't feel good, that's for sure. But like I told them, if you can't respond, right, you're going to struggle regardless of what you do in life. You've got to be able to flush something, good or bad, and get back to it. And it's way harder to flush something in today's day and age than it used to be, right? So you got to be able to flush it and move on. It goes back to that reality show comparison. It's you can't get lost in it. How do you get better? You go back to work. Simple.
And as Kenny pointed out on Saturday night after the game, we have the exact same record after 5 conference games as we did a year ago. And he's not wrong. I looked it up, and it's remarkable how actually in some ways similar the standings are to a year ago. And we'll get into this specifically a little bit later. Again, the big difference is last year, the 2 teams that were at the top of the conference a year ago were K-State and BYU, and ASU had games scheduled against both of them last year, which gave them a direct opportunity to climb specifically against the teams in front of them. They do not have that this year. They do not.
But I think they were also starting to play a little bit better. What were they? 5? Would you say 5-2? Right?
They were
because they were 5-1. They had beat Utah, and then they lost to Cincinnati to be 5-2.
And they didn't lose the rest of the way.
And they didn't lose the rest of the way. But they lost to Cincinnati with their backup quarterback after they had just had a huge emotional win over Utah.
And they didn't lose after that. And they won. They basically won out until they got to the Peach Bowl.
Thanks for watching Burns and Gambo. Click to see more from the guys and hit the button in the middle to subscribe so you never miss a video from Arizona sports.